Elena Carter's face hit the dirt so hard she tasted blood. 3 men stood over her, laughing. One pressed his boot against the back of her neck. "Stay down," he said. "Stay down where you belong." She didn't move. Not because she couldn't, not because she was afraid, but because 48 hours ago she'd pulled 2 hostages out of a sinking vessel in the Persian Gulf with a dislocated shoulder and a knife wound she hadn't told anyone about. These men had no idea what they were standing on top of, and Elena Carter was still deciding whether they were worth the effort of getting up. If this story grabs you, subscribe and follow Elena's journey to the very end. Drop a comment with the city you're watching from. I want to see how far this story reaches. The boot pressed harder. Elena kept her hands flat on the ground, palms down, fingers spread. The way they taught her in BUD/S, when the instructors buried you in sand and surf and screamed at you to quit. You don't clench. You don't resist. You breathe. You wait. You decide. "I said stay down." The man's voice was young, 20, maybe 21, trying to sound hard, trying to sound like he'd earned the right to stand over someone. Elena breathed through her nose, dirt and motor oil and cheap cigarette smoke. "She ain't even fighting back," another voice said, higher pitched, nervous. "Come on, Dante, let's just go." "Nah," the boot shifted, pushed her cheek into the gravel. "She walks through here every day like she owns the block. Somebody got to teach her." "Teach her what?" "Her place." Elena closed her eyes, not in surrender, in calculation. 3 men. The one called Dante directly above her, right foot on her neck, weight shifted to his left leg. Unstable stance. Second one standing 4 feet to her right, shuffling his feet, wanting out. Third one behind her, silent, which made him the most dangerous, or the most scared. She couldn't tell yet without seeing his hands. She could end this in 6 seconds, maybe 4. She didn't. "You hear me?" Dante leaned down. His breath was hot on the back of her head. "You don't walk through Granby Street like you're better than everybody. Not anymore." Elena opened her eyes. "I hear you," she said. Her voice was flat, controlled. The same tone she used on comms during live operations, when everything was falling apart and the only thing holding the team together was somebody staying calm. "Good." Dante stepped back. "Now get up slow and walk the other way. Don't come back." Elena rose to her knees. Dirt fell from her hair, her shirt, her face. She wiped her mouth with the back of her hand. Blood on her knuckles from where the gravel had split her lip. She stood. The 3 men watched her. Dante had his arms crossed. The nervous one, she'd tagged him as Marcus in her head, kept glancing down the street. The quiet one stood with his hands in his pockets, and that told Elena everything she needed to know. Not a weapon, just a kid who didn't know how to leave. "Walk," Dante said. Elena looked at him, really looked, held his gaze the way you hold a loaded weapon, steady, aware of exactly what it could do. Something flickered in his eyes. Not fear, not yet. Confusion. Because the woman standing in front of him, with dirt on her face and blood on her lip, didn't look scared, didn't look angry, didn't look like anything he'd ever seen before. She looked like she was waiting for something. "I said, walk." "I heard you the first time." Elena's voice didn't change, didn't rise. "I'm going to walk home now. Not because you told me to, because it's where I was headed before you decided to prove something." "The hell did you just say to me?" "I said I'm going home." Elena turned her back on him, started walking. Steady pace, no hurry. She made it 4 steps. "Hey!" Dante's voice cracked behind her. "Hey, I'm talking to you!" She kept walking. "Don't you turn your back on me!" Footsteps, fast, coming up behind her. Elena didn't turn around, didn't speed up. Her heart rate held at 62 beats per minute, the same rate she'd maintained during a night swim insertion off the coast of Yemen 6 months ago, with a 60-pound pack on her back and zero visibility. Dante grabbed her shoulder, spun her around. "Nobody walks away from me." Elena looked at his hand on her shoulder, looked at his face, looked at the two others coming up behind him, Marcus practically tripping over himself, the quiet one trailing slow. "You should let go of me," she said. "Or what? Or you're going to have a very bad next 5 seconds." Dante laughed, hard, sharp, ugly. "You threatening me? You? Lady, you were just eating dirt." "That's true." Elena's expression didn't change. "I was. And now I'm standing. And now I'm telling you, one time, real clear, let go of my shoulder." "Make me." The words hung in the air like a match held over gasoline. Elena's eyes moved to Marcus. The kid was sweating, looking everywhere but at her. Then to the quiet one, who had stopped walking and was standing very still, like an animal that had just smelled something wrong. Smart kid, Elena thought. Smarter than his friend. "Last chance," she said to Dante. "Take your hand off me. Walk away. Nobody gets hurt." "Girl, you are out of your—" She moved. Not fast in the way movies showed fast. No spinning, no flying, no sound effects. Fast in the way that water moves through a cracked dam. Inevitable. Unstoppable. One direction. She trapped his wrist against her shoulder, rotated, applied pressure to the joint. Dante's elbow locked, his body followed, and in less than 2 seconds he was face down in the same dirt he'd pushed her into, his arm bent behind his back at an angle that was 1 inch from dislocation. He screamed. "Stay down," Elena said quietly. Marcus bolted, just turned and ran, sneakers slapping concrete, gone before his shadow caught up. The quiet one didn't run. He stood there, hands out of his pockets now, palms open, eyes wide. 17, maybe 18. A kid. "You with him?" Elena asked, nodding toward Dante, who was writhing and cursing beneath her hold. "No, ma'am." The kid's voice shook. I was just walking with them. I didn't. Then walk the other way, right now." He walked, fast, didn't look back. Elena held Dante for another 3 seconds, long enough for his struggling to wear itself out, long enough for the reality of his situation to sink through the adrenaline and the anger and settle into his bones. "I'm going to let you up," she said, "and you're going to stay on the ground until I'm around that corner. You're not going to follow me. You're not going to come looking for me. You're not going to tell your friends some story about how you got jumped by 10 people. You're going to sit here in this dirt and think about the fact that the woman you pushed down just put you there with one hand." "Who the hell are you?" Dante's voice was muffled by gravel and humiliation. Elena released his arm, stood up, brushed the dirt off her camouflage pants with the same calm efficiency she used to field strip a weapon. "Nobody you want to find out about," she said. She walked home. 6 blocks. Didn't look back once. Her lip was still bleeding. Her hands were steady. Her heart rate hadn't broken 65. The apartment was small. 2nd floor. 1 bedroom. Clean the way military people keep things clean. Everything in its place, nothing extra, the bed made so tight you could bounce a quarter off the sheets. Elena locked the door behind her, dropped her keys on the counter, stood at the kitchen sink and ran cold water over her split lip until the bleeding stopped. Then she put both hands on the edge of the sink and leaned forward and closed her eyes. The shaking started in her shoulders, worked its way down through her arms, her hands, her fingers. Not fear, not adrenaline crash. Something deeper. something she didn't have a name for. 48 hours ago, she'd been chest-deep in black water, pulling a screaming 16-year-old girl out of a compartment on a sinking smuggling vessel, while gunfire cracked overhead, and someone on the radio kept saying, "Extract, extract, extract," like saying it 3 times would make it happen faster. She'd gotten the girl out, gotten herself out, gotten her team out. Hadn't slept since. And then 3 kids on a street corner decided she needed to be taught her place. Elena laughed. It came out broken and rough, and not really a laugh at all. Her phone buzzed. She looked at the screen. Lieutenant Commander Davis. She picked up. "Carter, you good?" "Fine, sir." "You don't sound fine." "I'm fine." A pause. Davis had been her commanding officer for 2 years. He knew what fine meant when Elena said it. It meant she was holding everything together with both hands, and would continue to do so until someone gave her permission to stop. "Debriefs at 0800 tomorrow. Medical cleared you?" "Cleared." "The shoulder?" "Functional." "That's not what I asked." Elena looked at a reflection in the dark kitchen window. Dirt still in her hair, blood drying on her chin, eyes that looked 10 years older than 22. "It hurts," she admitted, "but it works." "Get some sleep, Carter. That's an order." "Yes, sir." She hung up, stood in the kitchen for another minute. Then she walked to the bathroom, turned on the shower, and stood under water so hot it turned her skin red. The dirt washed off easy. Everything else stayed. Her phone buzzed again at 2200. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer. "Hello? Is this Elena Carter?" A woman's voice, young, breathless. "Who's asking?" "My name is Priya Sharma. I'm a reporter with a Virginia Pilot. I'm calling about a video that's been posted online in the last 3 hours, showing what appears to be an assault on a young woman near Granby Street in Norfolk. The video has been viewed over 200,000 times. I'm trying to confirm whether the woman in the video is you." Elena's blood went cold. "What video?" "Someone recorded the incident on their phone. It shows a woman being pushed to the ground and held down by a man stepping on her neck. The video cuts off before... Before what? Before whatever happened next. The clip is 32 seconds long. It stops right after the woman is pushed down. The person who posted it captioned it." Priya hesitated. "Do you want me to read the caption?" "Read it." It says, "Lol, she just took it. Didn't even fight back. Weak." Elena's hand tightened on the phone. 200,000 views. A 32-second clip. Cut to make her look helpless. Cut to erase everything that came after. "Miss Carter, are you there?" "I'm here." "Can you confirm whether that's you in the video?" Elena stared at the wall. Water dripped from her hair onto the floor. The shower was still running behind her, filling the small apartment with steam. "No comment," she said. She hung up. Then she sat down on the edge of her bed and stared at nothing for a very long time, while 200,000 strangers watched her eat dirt and called her weak. By morning, the video had crossed 1 million views. Elena found out at 0437, 23 minutes before her alarm. She was already awake, hadn't really slept, just drifted in and out of the half-conscious state that combat veterans learn to survive on when real sleep won't come. She picked up her phone, scrolled, and felt her stomach drop. The comments were worse than the video. Why didn't she fight back? This is what happens when women think they can walk alone. Pathetic. She just laid there. Weak. That word, over and over. Weak. 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 From strangers who'd never held a weapon, never treaded water for 6 hours in open ocean, never carried a wounded teammate across a rooftop while tracer rounds split the air 2 feet above their heads. Weak. Elena put the phone face down on the nightstand, got dressed, laced her boots, drove to base. The gate guard looked at her different. She caught it, the flicker of recognition, the quick glance away. He'd seen the video. They'd all seen the video. She parked, walked toward the training facility, head up, shoulders back, the way she always walked, the way they'd trained her to walk, like every step was deliberate, every direction was chosen. Carter. She stopped. Chief Petty Officer Ray Dominguez was standing outside the equipment locker, arms folded, watching her with the expression of a man who'd been waiting. Chief, you see the internet this morning? I saw it. You want to talk about it? No, Chief. Too bad. Dominguez fell into step beside her. Because Lieutenant Commander Davis wants to see you at 0800, and he's going to ask you the same question, and you're going to need a better answer than no. I handled it. You handled the street part. The internet part is handling you. Dominguez stopped walking. 1,000,000 views, Carter. By noon, it'll be 2. By tonight, every news outlet on the East Coast is going to be calling the base, asking if the woman in the video is one of ours. Elena's jaw tightened. The video doesn't show what actually happened. I know that. You know that. The 1,000,000 people who watched it don't know that, and they don't care. They see a woman in the dirt. That's the story now. That's not the whole story. Since when does the whole story matter? Dominguez's voice was hard, but not unkind. You've been in long enough to know how this works. The clip is 32 seconds. The truth is complicated. Nobody's got time for complicated. Elena stared straight ahead. Her hands were steady. Her voice was steady. Everything was steady, because she'd spent 4 years training every part of herself to be steady, no matter what was happening inside. Inside was a different story. What do you want me to do, Chief? I want you to walk into that meeting at 0800 and tell Davis exactly what happened. Start to finish. Don't leave anything out. And then I want you to let the process work. The process. Yes, Carter, the process. I know you don't trust it. I know you'd rather handle everything yourself because that's what you do. But this one's bigger than a street fight in Norfolk. This one's political now. Elena looked at him. Political. Senator Hargrove's office called the base commander at 0600 this morning, asking about the video, asking about women in special operations, asking whether this incident proves that female SEALs are a failed experiment. The words landed like a punch to the solar plexus. That's what this is about? Elena's voice dropped low. Dangerous. Some senator using a 32-second clip to score points against women in combat? Welcome to the real world, Carter, where everything you do gets turned into somebody else's argument. Elena stood very still. She could feel it building. The anger she'd kept locked down on that street. The rage she hadn't let herself feel when Dante's boot was on her neck. The fury that had been waiting in her chest like a coiled spring since she'd hung up on that reporter and sat alone in the dark, listening to strangers call her weak. I am not a failed experiment, she said. I know. I passed every test they put in front of me. Same standards, same hell. Same water, same sand, same instructors screaming in my face for 6 months straight. I earned this. I know, Carter. And some politician who's never done a push-up in his life is going to use a video of me getting ambushed on a sidewalk to argue that I don't belong? That's exactly what he's going to do. Unless you give Davis something better to work with. Elena's breathing had quickened. She caught it, controlled it, pulled it back to baseline the way she'd been trained. 4 counts in, 4 counts hold, 4 counts out. 0800, she said. 0800. She walked to the training bay. Empty this early. Good. She wrapped her hands, stepped up to the heavy bag, and hit it until her knuckles bled through the tape, and her shoulder screamed, and her lungs burned. Then she hit it some more. At 07:55, she showered, changed into a clean uniform, and walked into Lieutenant Commander Davis's office with wet hair and raw hands, and the kind of calm that only comes from beating something until you've got nothing left to beat. Davis was sitting behind his desk. 40s. Lean. The kind of face that didn't give anything away unless he wanted it to. "Sit down, Carter." She sat. "Tell me what happened. Everything." So she told him. The walk home. Granby Street. Dante and his crew. The boot on her neck. The choice not to fight. The moment she did fight. The restraint. The release. Walking home. Davis listened without interrupting. When she finished, he was quiet for 10 seconds. 20. 30. "You had a knife wound from the Gulf op," he said finally. 18 stitches in your left side. And a dislocated shoulder you popped back in yourself on the extraction boat. "Yes, sir." "And you were 48 hours without sleep." "Approximately, sir." "And you still put a man on the ground with one hand." "He put himself on the ground, sir. I just helped him find it." Something moved at the corner of Davis's mouth. Not quite a smile. Close. "The video's a problem, Carter. Not because of what you did, because of what it doesn't show. Senator Hargrove is using it. The media's using it. Everyone's got an opinion about a woman in the dirt, and nobody's asking the woman what actually happened." "With respect, sir, a reporter called me last night." I declined to comment. "I know, and that was the right call at the time. But the situation's changed." Davis leaned forward. Norfolk PD pulled body cam footage from a patrol unit that was 3 blocks away during the incident. Responded to a noise complaint. Their camera caught the last 40 seconds, the part the viral video cut off. Elena went still. "The part where I took him down?" "The part where you gave him 3 verbal warnings, used minimum necessary force, controlled the situation without injury, and de-escalated in under 10 seconds. Davis held her gaze. "It's the cleanest use of force I've ever seen outside a training environment. And it proves every word you just told me." Elena's throat tightened. She didn't speak. "We're releasing the body cam footage today, with your permission. Along with a statement from this command about your service record, redacted, obviously, confirming that you are an active duty member of Naval Special Warfare who was returning from a deployment when the incident occurred." "Sir, I don't want attention. I just want to do my job." "I know. But this stopped being about you the moment that senator opened his mouth. This is about every woman who comes after you. Every girl who watches that video and thinks, 'See, women can't hack it.' They deserve to see the rest of the tape, Carter. They deserve to see what actually happened when you got up off that ground." Elena sat there for a long time, thinking about the 16-year-old girl she'd pulled from the sinking vessel in the Gulf. Thinking about the look on that girl's face. Terror and gratitude, and something else. Something that looked like the first flicker of believing she might survive. "Release it," Elena said. "You sure?" "Yes, sir. Release it." Davis nodded. "One more thing. The kid who ran, Marcus Webb, 19, no prior record. He turned himself in to Norfolk PD this morning. Walked into the station at 05:30 and gave a full statement. Said he couldn't sleep. Said he kept seeing your face in the dirt and hearing you say, "I hear you," and knowing that you could have destroyed all three of them and chose not to. Elena's hands went still in her lap. "He asked to speak with you," Davis said. "You don't have to, but he asked." Elena stared at the wall behind Davis's head. A 19-year-old kid who couldn't sleep because a woman he'd helped humiliate had shown him mercy he didn't deserve. "I'll think about it," she said. "Take your time." She stood, saluted, turned for the door. "Carter," she stopped. "You didn't just defend yourself out there. You represented this uniform, and you did it better than most people with twice your experience and none of your reasons to be angry." Elena's jaw worked. She nodded once, walked out. The body cam footage dropped at noon. By 1400, it had 10 million views. The internet split in half. One side saw the body cam footage and called Elena Carter a hero. The other side said she was a trained killer who overreacted to kids on a street corner. Cable news ran both angles simultaneously, splitting screens between pundits who'd never thrown a punch in their lives, arguing about whether a woman who'd served 3 combat deployments had used appropriate force against a man who'd put his boot on her neck. Elena watched none of it. She was in the water at 0500, running combat swimmer drills with her team, pushing through a 2-mile open ocean swim in 48-degree Atlantic water, while her phone sat in a locker, collecting notifications she wouldn't read. But the world kept spinning, whether she watched or not. Senator Hargrove held a press conference at 1000. "What we saw in that body cam footage," he said, adjusting his glasses with the practiced calm of a man who'd never been within 100 miles of a firefight, "is exactly why integrating women into special operations was premature. This young woman was targeted precisely because she appeared vulnerable. And her response, while effective, raises serious questions about escalation and judgment." Dominguez found Elena in the equipment room an hour later, toweling off salt water, her shoulder throbbing. "You hear what Hargrove said?" "Don't care." "You should. He's calling for a congressional review of women in naval special warfare, using your name, your incident." Elena's hands stopped moving on the towel. "He used my name?" "Not directly, but he referenced the female SEAL involved in the Norfolk incident. There's only one of you in this command, Carter. Doesn't take a genius." Elena sat down on the bench. The anger was back. Not the hot, explosive kind that made people do stupid things. The cold kind, the kind that settled into your bones and stayed there like frost. "What does Davis say?" "Davis is on the phone with SOCOM. They're handling it at a level way above our pay grade." Dominguez sat down across from her. "But there's something else, something Davis doesn't know yet." "What?" "Dante Reeves, the guy who stepped on you. He did a TV interview this morning." Elena's jaw locked. "He what?" "Local station. Sat there with his mama next to him, arm in a sling he doesn't need, and told the camera that you attacked him unprovoked. Said he was just talking to you, and you went crazy. Said he's scared of retaliation from the military. Said he's the victim." The silence that followed was the kind that precedes either an explosion or an implosion. Elena Carter sat on that bench and chose the third option: absolute, terrifying stillness. "His arm's not hurt," she said quietly. "I controlled the joint lock. There's no injury. I made sure of it." "I know. Medical report from Norfolk PD confirms it. But that doesn't matter on television. What matters on television is a 20-year-old kid with his mama crying next to him, saying a big bad Navy SEAL attacked her baby. He put his boot on my neck." "The first video doesn't show that clearly. His people are saying he was just standing near you, that you were already on the ground when he walked up." "That's a lie. Of course it's a lie. But it's a lie with a crying mother attached to it. And that plays better than body cam footage with timestamps and angles that most people won't bother to analyze. Elena pressed her palms flat against her knees. The same position she'd held on that street. Palms down, fingers spread. Breathe. Wait. Decide. There's more, Dominguez said. Of course there is. Dante's lawyer is talking about a civil suit. Excessive force. Emotional distress. The whole package. Elena laughed. It wasn't a good laugh. A man assaults me on the street, and I'm getting sued. Welcome to America, Carter. I didn't break anything. I didn't strike him. I used the minimum force necessary to. You don't have to convince me. You have to convince a judge, if it gets that far. Dominguez leaned forward. Which is why the body cam footage matters. Which is why Marcus Webb's statement matters. And which is why you need to think real hard about whether you're willing to go public. I am public. The whole country's seen my face in the dirt. They've seen a woman in the dirt. They haven't heard her speak. They don't know who she is. They don't know about the Gulf. They don't know about the extraction. They don't know that the woman they're calling weak saved 2 lives 48 hours before that video was shot. That's classified. Parts of it, not all of it. Dominguez held her gaze. Davis is working on a declassification request for certain elements of your service record. Non-operational details, commendations, training achievements, enough to give people context without compromising anything sensitive. I didn't join the Navy to be a poster. No, you joined to serve. And right now, the best way you can serve is by letting people see what that actually looks like. Not the Hollywood version, the real version. A woman who got knocked down and got back up and didn't lose her humanity in the process. Elena stared at the floor. Salt water dripped from her hair onto the concrete. Her shoulder screamed with every heartbeat. The kid, she said finally. Marcus Webb. He still wants to talk to me? Showed up at the Norfolk PD station again this morning asking. 3rd time. Why? I don't know. Maybe guilt. Maybe something else. Dominguez shrugged. Only one way to find out. Elena thought about it. Thought about a 19-year-old who couldn't sleep, who'd walked into a police station 3 times because something he saw on a sidewalk in Norfolk had cracked something open in him that he didn't know how to close. Set it up, she said. You sure? No, set it up anyway. The meeting happened at Norfolk PD. A small room, a table, 2 chairs, 1 window with blinds drawn. Marcus Webb looked younger than 19. Skinny. Couldn't sit still. His hands kept moving, tapping the table, pulling at his shirt, clasping together, pulling apart. When Elena walked in, he stood up so fast the chair scraped back and hit the wall. Ma'am, his voice cracked. Miss Carter, Sit down, Marcus. He sat. She sat across from him. The table between them felt like a mile wide and an inch thin at the same time. Thank you for seeing me, he said. His eyes were red. Not crying now, but recently. I know you didn't have to. No, I didn't. I'm sorry. The words came out in a rush. I'm so sorry. I didn't. I wasn't going to. I just froze. Dante said we were just going to scare you, and I believed him. And then he had his foot on your neck, and I didn't do anything. I just stood there. You did. I know, and I can't. His voice broke. I keep seeing it. Every time I close my eyes. You were just lying there, and I could see your hands, and they were flat on the ground like you were pressing into the earth, and I thought you were giving up. But you weren't, were you? No. You were choosing not to hurt us. Yes. Marcus's face crumpled. Why? Elena studied him. This kid with his shaking hands and his red eyes and his question that cut deeper than any knife she'd ever taken. "Because I could," she said simply, "and because hurting you wasn't going to fix anything." But Dante made a choice. I made a different one. When he crossed a line I couldn't ignore, I responded with exactly what was necessary and nothing more. She paused.
That's not weakness, Marcus. That's discipline.
I told the police everything, every detail. What Dante said, what he did, all of it. I'll testify if they need me to.
That took courage.
No, it didn't. Courage is what you did. Lying there, not fighting, when you could have destroyed all three of us. Marcus wiped his eyes with the back of his hand. I've never seen anything like that. I've never seen someone that strong be that still. Elena's chest tightened. She breathed through it.
How old is your mother, Marcus?
The question caught him off guard. 43. Why?
She know you're here?
Yeah, she drove me. She's in the parking lot. His lip trembled. She cried for 2 hours when she saw the video. Not because of what happened to you, because of what I didn't do to stop it. Elena sat with that for a moment. A mother in a parking lot. A son trying to undo something that couldn't be undone. You can't change what happened on that street, Elena said.
But you changed what happened after. You walked into a police station and told the truth when lying would have been easier.
That counts, Marcus. Don't let anybody tell you it doesn't. Marcus nodded, tears running free now, not bothering to wipe them. Can I ask you something? He said. Go ahead. The people online, the ones calling you weak, the senator saying women shouldn't be... He stopped. Does it bother you, what they're saying? Elena looked at him for a long time. Yeah, she said. It bothers me. But you're still going to show up tomorrow? 0500, same as every morning. How? Elena stood, pushed her chair back, looked down at this kid who'd come to her 3 times looking for something he couldn't name. Because the ground is where I train, she said. And I've been getting back up my whole life. She walked out, past the desk sergeant, past the officer who'd escorted her in, pushed through the front door into the afternoon light.
A woman was sitting on the hood of a blue sedan in the parking lot.
43. Small. Tired eyes. She looked up when Elena came out, and the expression on her face was the most complicated thing Elena had seen since the Gulf. Shame and gratitude and fear and hope, all tangled together in ways that couldn't be separated. Elena stopped. The woman stood. Miss Carter, I'm Denise Webb, Marcus's mother. Ma'am? I want to apologize for what my son... Your son walked into a police station 3 times to tell the truth. You raised him right, Mrs. Webb. The rest is just growing pains. Denise Webb's composure broke. She pressed her hand to her mouth, nodded, couldn't speak. Elena walked to her truck, got in, sat behind the wheel with both hands gripping it at 10 and 2. Then she drove back to base, parked, walked to the training bay, and ran combat drills until her body gave out and her mind finally went quiet. The civil suit notification arrived the next morning. Elena read the suit papers standing up in her kitchen at 0600, coffee going cold on the counter. Each page worse than the last. Dante Reeves versus Elena Carter. Excessive force, assault and battery, emotional distress, physical injury, loss of income. $250,000 in damages. She set the papers down, picked up her coffee, took a sip, set it down. Then she called the only person she'd ever trusted to tell her the truth when the truth was ugly. Chief? I saw it, Dominguez said. No hello, no preamble. JAG's already on it. They assigned you a military attorney. Lieutenant Commander Sarah Chen. She's good. Best they've got.
I don't need a lawyer. I need this to go away.
It's not going away, Carter. Dante's attorney is the same guy who sued Norfolk PD last year over that traffic stop shooting. He's smart. He's media savvy. And he smells money.
I don't have money.
He's not suing you for your bank account. He's suing you for the headline. Navy SEAL sued by unarmed civilian. That's the play. Force the Navy into a settlement to avoid bad press. Elena's hand tightened on the phone.
I won't settle.
That's not your call.
The hell it isn't.
Carter. Dominguez's voice dropped. The voice he used when things were serious and getting worse. This goes above both of us. SOCOM's involved. Public Affairs is involved. The Secretary of the Navy's office got a call from Hargrove's people yesterday asking about liability exposure. This isn't a street fight anymore. This is politics. Elena closed her eyes, pressed her forehead against the kitchen wall. Cold plaster against hot skin.
I did everything right, she said. Every step, every second. I gave warnings. I used minimum force. I let 2 of them walk away. And now I'm the one in court.
Yeah, you are. And it's not fair. And it doesn't matter that it's not fair because fair isn't how any of this works. She breathed. 4 counts in. 4 counts hold. 4 counts out. When do I meet Chen? 1300 today. My office. Lieutenant Commander Sarah Chen was 5'2", 115 pounds, and had the eyes of someone who'd spent 15 years watching powerful people lie under oath and making them regret it. She shook Elena's hand with a grip that meant business and sat down without small talk. I've reviewed the body cam footage, Marcus Webb's sworn statement, the Norfolk PD incident report, and your service record, what's unclassified anyway. Chen opened a folder. You're clean, Carter. Textbook clean. The use of force was proportional, controlled, and preceded by multiple verbal warnings. Any competent judge throws this out. Then what's the problem? The problem is, it might never reach a competent judge. Dante's attorney filed in state court, not federal. He's banking on a jury trial. And a jury isn't looking at use of force protocols. A jury is looking at a trained military operator who put an unarmed 20-year-old on the ground. He had his boot on my neck. And the first video, the viral one, the one 50 million people have seen, doesn't show that clearly. His attorney will argue ambiguity. He'll put Dante's mother on the stand. She'll cry. The jury will feel sympathy. That's the game. Elena leaned forward.
So, what do we do?
We need more than the body cam. We need the full picture. Every witness. Every angle. Chen tapped the folder. There were security cameras on 2 businesses on that block. Norfolk PD pulled footage from one, a convenience store, but the angle's partial. The other camera belongs to an auto repair shop across the street. Owner hasn't cooperated.
Why not?
Because Dante Reeves is his nephew. Elena sat back. Of course he was. There's something else, Chen said. Something that changes this case entirely if I can prove it.
What?
Dante Reeves has done this before. The room went very quiet. I pulled his record, Chen continued. Officially clean, no convictions, no arrests, but I made some calls. Talked to a detective in Norfolk Vice who's been watching Dante's crew for 6 months. 3 women have filed harassment complaints against Dante Reeves in the past year. All 3 dropped the charges. All 3 told the detective the same thing. They were pressured by Dante's family to stay quiet. Elena's hands went flat on the table, palms down, fingers spread. 3 women. 3 that we know of. The detective thinks there are more. Women in that neighborhood who got pushed around, threatened, intimidated, and decided it wasn't worth the fight. Chen met Elena's gaze. Until you. I'm not a crusade commander. I'm a sailor who walked home from work. You're both, Carter, whether you want to be or not. Elena stared at the folder. 3 women. 3 dropped charges. 3 people who'd been afraid enough or pressured enough to let Dante Reeves keep walking those streets like he owned them. Find them, Elena said. What? The 3 women. Find them. If they're willing to come forward, if they'll testify, this isn't about me anymore. This is about him. About a pattern. About a man who's been doing this for years because nobody stayed standing long enough to stop him. Chen studied her for a long moment. That could get complicated. If Dante's family pressured them before, then we make sure they're protected this time. I'll talk to them myself if I have to. That's not advisable. You're the defendant. I'm also the only person who knows exactly what it feels like to have that man's boot on your neck. If those women need to hear from someone who understands, I'm right here. Chen closed the folder, opened it again, closed it. I'll make the calls, she said. But Carter, if this goes where I think it's going, you're not just fighting a lawsuit anymore. You're taking on a family, a neighborhood power structure, and a senator who's already using you as a political weapon. Are you ready for that? Ma'am, I swam 2 miles in 48-degree water this morning with 18 stitches in my side and a shoulder that pops out if I sneeze wrong. I'm ready for whatever shows up. Chen almost smiled. Almost. 0800 tomorrow. Bring everything you've got. Elena walked out of the meeting and straight into the one person she didn't expect. Priya Sharma, the reporter from the Virginia Pilot. Standing in the hallway outside Dominguez's office like she'd been waiting. Miss Carter, I know you said no comment, but how did you get on base? Press credentials? I'm embedded with the Norfolk Naval Community Beat. Priya held up her badge. I'm not here to ambush you. I'm here because I have something you need to see. I'm not interested in... Dante Reeves gave another interview this morning. This time, national. He's going on cable tonight, prime time. His lawyer coached him. He's going to say you used a chokehold. He's going to say he couldn't breathe. He's going to say, I never touched his neck. Elena's voice went cold. I used a wrist-to-shoulder lock. His airway was never compromised. The body cam footage proves it. I know. I've watched that footage 40 times. I've watched it frame by frame. I know exactly what you did and didn't do. Priya lowered her voice. Which is why I'm here. Because what Dante's about to say on national television is a provable lie. And if someone doesn't counter it with facts before he goes on air, the lie becomes the story. Elena studied the reporter. Young, late 20s. Determined in a way that reminded her of someone. It took her a second to realize it reminded her of herself. Why do you care? Elena asked. This is just a story to you. No, it's not. Priya's jaw tightened. When I was 16, a group of boys cornered me behind my high school and told me to go back where I came from. I didn't fight back. I didn't report it. I went home and told my mother I fell. She held Elena's gaze. I've been waiting 10 years to meet someone who handled it the way you did. Someone who proved that not fighting back isn't the same as losing. Elena stood in that hallway, looking at this woman she'd never met, and felt something crack open that she'd been holding shut since the moment Dante's boot touched her neck. What do you need from me? Elena asked. An interview. On camera. Your words, your terms. I'll let you review every frame before it airs. Nothing gets published without your approval. My commanding officer already contacted Lieutenant Commander Davis. He referred me to public affairs. They're considering it. They're considering it. The body cam footage changed the conversation, Carter. But footage doesn't have a voice. You do. And right now, 50 million people have seen you in the dirt, and not one of them has heard you speak. Elena thought about Marcus Webb sitting across from her with tears on his face, asking how she keeps showing up. Thought about Denise Webb in the parking lot, unable to speak. Thought about 3 women who dropped charges because no one stood with them. Thought about a 16-year-old Priya Sharma going home with a lie in her mouth because the truth was too heavy to carry alone. One condition, Elena said. Name it. You don't make me a hero. You don't make me a victim. You tell what happened, start to finish, the whole truth, including the part where I was scared. Priya blinked. You were scared? I had a boot on my neck and 18 stitches in my side, and I hadn't slept in 2 days. Yeah, I was scared. Elena held the reporter's gaze. But I got up anyway. That's the story. Not that I wasn't afraid. That I was afraid, and I got up anyway. Priya nodded slowly. When can we start? After Dante goes on TV tonight. Let him tell his lie. Let the whole country hear it. Elena's eyes hardened. Then I'll tell the truth, and we'll see which one's still standing in the morning. She walked past the reporter and out into the afternoon. Her phone buzzed. Chen. One text. Found the first woman. She's willing to talk. Elena read it twice, put the phone in her pocket, looked up at the sky. Then she walked to the training bay, taped her hands, and started her evening workout. Same as every day. Same as always. Because the ground was where she trained. And tomorrow, she was going to need every ounce of strength she'd ever built. Dante went on cable news at 8 p.m. Elena watched from her apartment, alone, sitting on the edge of her bed with her hands on her knees. He was good. She had to give him that. Somebody had coached him hard. The lowered eyes, the quiet voice, the way he kept touching his arm like it still hurt. His mother sat beside him in a church dress, dabbing at her eyes with a tissue. His lawyer stood off camera, just visible at the edge of the frame. I was just talking to her, Dante said. Just talking. And she grabbed me and threw me on the ground. I couldn't breathe. I thought she was going to kill me. The host nodded with practiced sympathy. And you had no idea she was military? No, ma'am. She was just a woman walking down the street. I said hello. Next thing I know, I'm face down with my arm twisted behind my back. Elena's hands didn't move. Her breathing didn't change. She watched a man lie about her on national television with the same controlled stillness she'd held on that street with his boot on her neck. When it was over, she picked up her phone and called Priya Sharma. Tomorrow, Elena said. 6 a.m. Your studio. Let's go. The interview aired at noon the next day. No makeup, no staging, no script. Elena sat in a plain chair in her duty uniform and talked for 47 minutes straight. Priya asked the first question. What happened on Granby Street? I was walking home from base. I'd been awake for approximately 50 hours following a deployment I can't discuss in detail. 3 men blocked the sidewalk. One of them, Dante Reeves, told me to move. I attempted to walk around them. He pushed me to the ground. He placed his boot on the back of my neck and told me to stay down. Why didn't you fight back immediately? Because I'm trained not to. The first response to a threat isn't violence. It's assessment. How many, what weapons, What's the fastest way to de-escalate without anyone getting hurt? Elena paused. Including the people threatening you. You were protecting them? I was making a decision. There's a difference between someone who can't fight back and someone who chooses not to. I chose not to, until I couldn't choose that anymore. What changed? He grabbed my shoulder, physical contact with intent to control. At that point, under both military training protocols and Virginia self-defense law, I had a right and an obligation to respond. Dante Reeves says you choked him, that he couldn't breathe. That's a lie. Elena's voice didn't waver. I used a wrist-to-shoulder joint lock. His airway was never compromised. The body cam footage, which has been publicly available for 5 days, confirms this frame by frame. His face is turned to the side. His mouth is open. He's breathing and speaking throughout the entire 7 seconds I maintained the hold. 7 seconds. 7 seconds. That's how long it took to control the situation and release him unharmed. Priya leaned forward. People have called you weak for not fighting back sooner. Others have called you dangerous for fighting back at all. How do you respond to that? Elena was quiet for a moment. When she spoke, her voice was different, lower, stripped of the military precision. Just a woman talking. 48 hours before that video was shot, I pulled a 16-year-old girl out of a sinking vessel in open water. She was screaming. The water was black. I had 18 stitches in my side from a knife wound I'd taken during the operation, and a dislocated shoulder I'd reset myself on the extraction boat. Elena held Priya's gaze. I carried that girl to safety. I kept her alive. I got my team home. And then I flew back to Norfolk, and I walked home, and a man put his boot on my neck and told me I didn't belong. She paused. People can call me whatever they want. Weak, dangerous, a failed experiment. I know what I am. The people I've served with know what I am. And that girl I pulled out of the water knows what I am. I don't need a stranger on the internet to validate it. The interview went viral in under an hour. By evening, it had outpaced the original street video, the body cam footage, and Dante's cable appearance combined. 22 million views and climbing. But it was what happened off camera that changed everything. Chen called at 1900. Her voice was tight with something Elena had never heard from the composed attorney before. Excitement. The auto repair shop footage. Dante's uncle's security camera. He wouldn't cooperate. He didn't have to. His employee did. A mechanic named Jorge Salinas. He made a copy of the footage 3 days ago and kept it because, and I'm quoting here, what Dante did was wrong and somebody should see it. What's on it? Everything the viral video cut out. Clear angle, full audio. Dante initiating contact. Dante pushing you down. Dante's boot on your neck. Your verbal warnings. Your controlled response. Every second, Carter. From a camera 15 feet away with zero ambiguity. Elena sat down. Her legs just gave out, and she sat right down on the floor of her kitchen. And there's more, Chen continued. The 3 women. All 3 are willing to testify. I met with them today. Together. They came together, Carter. They drove to my office in the same car. They said they saw your interview and decided they were done being quiet. Elena pressed her hand over her mouth, held it there. Their names are Keisha Brown, Amber Dominguez, no relation to your chief, and Tamara Rhodes. Dante harassed all 3 over a period of 14 months. Same street, same pattern. Intimidation, physical contact, threats when they resisted. All 3 filed reports. All 3 were pressured to withdraw. All 3 have agreed to submit sworn statements.
Chen.
Yeah?
Thank you.
Don't thank me. Thank Jorge Salinas, who makes $11 an hour fixing transmissions, and had more courage than everyone else on that block combined. The civil suit collapsed in 72 hours. Dante's attorney withdrew the claim the morning after Chen filed a counter-motion with the auto shop footage, the three women's statements, and Marcus Webb's testimony attached. The judge didn't even have to rule. The evidence was so overwhelming that pursuing the case would have been professional suicide. Dante Reeves was arrested 2 days later. 3 counts of assault, 3 counts of intimidation of a witness, 1 count of filing a false police report. His mother wasn't on camera for that part. Senator Hargrove quietly shelved his congressional review. No press conference, no announcement, just a memo that leaked to the Washington Post stating that further evaluation of special operations integration policies has been deferred pending additional data collection. Political language for retreat. Elena found out about Hargrove's reversal from Dominguez, who told her while they were running a 5-mile beach circuit at 05:30. He folded, Dominguez said between breaths. Good. Elena didn't break stride. That's it? Just good? What do you want me to say, Chief? I didn't do this for a senator. I didn't do this for headlines. I did this because a man put his boot on my neck, and 3 women before me didn't have anyone standing with them when it happened to them. And now they do. Now they do. They ran the rest of the circuit in silence. The Atlantic wind cut cold across the sand. Elena's shoulder ached. Her stitches had dissolved, but the scar pulled tight with every arm swing. She didn't slow down. 6 weeks later, Elena stood in a briefing room at Naval Special Warfare Command, receiving orders for her next deployment. Coastal Anti-Trafficking Interdiction. High risk. Extended duration. Davis handed her the mission packet. You ready, Carter? Always, sir. Your interview changed things. You know that, right? Applications from women to BUD/S are up 31% since it aired. That's not why I did it. I know, but it matters. Those women are applying because they saw someone who looked like them get knocked down and get back up, and refused to let anyone define what that meant. Davis paused. You gave them something, Carter. Something they couldn't get from a recruitment poster. What's that, sir? Permission to be strong and scared at the same time. Elena tucked the mission packet under her arm, turned for the door. A young woman was standing in the hallway, early 20s, fresh-faced, wearing the unmistakable look of someone who just arrived at a place that was going to try to break her in every way possible. She saw Elena, straightened. Something flickered in her eyes. Recognition, nervous energy, determination. Ma'am, are you Petty Officer Carter? I am. I'm Seaman Recruit Torres. I just checked in. I'm starting BUD/S prep next week. The young woman swallowed hard. I saw your interview. All of it. I watched it 11 times. 11? I kept stopping it and restarting it. The part where you said, the part about choosing not to fight back. About discipline looking like silence to people who don't understand power. Torres's voice shook, but she held Elena's gaze. That's why I'm here. Because you showed me that strength doesn't have to be loud to be real. Elena looked at this young woman, standing at the beginning of the hardest thing she'd ever do, shaking but not backing down, and saw herself 4 years ago. Scared, determined, knowing that the ground ahead was going to hurt and choosing to step onto it anyway. Torres. Yes, ma'am? BUD/S is going to push you down. The ocean's going to push you down. The sand, the cold, the instructors, your own body. all of it's going to push you into the dirt and tell you to stay there.
Yes, ma'am.
Don't stay. Torres's chin lifted, steady, sure.
I won't, ma'am.
Elena nodded once, walked past her, down the hall, out the door, into the morning where the winds smelled like salt and sand, and the same ocean that had tried to kill her 6 weeks ago was waiting to test her again. She didn't look back, didn't need to, because behind her, a young woman squared her shoulders and walked toward the hardest thing she'd ever do. And somewhere in Norfolk, 3 women slept safer because they'd finally been heard. And somewhere on the internet, a 32-second video still existed. A woman in the dirt, face down, not fighting back. And 50 million people had learned that what they were watching wasn't weakness. It was a woman deciding how much mercy her enemies deserved. Elena Carter had been pushed into the dirt. She'd been called weak. She'd been sued, politicized, lied about, and judged by strangers who'd never spent a single second doing the things she did every day. And every morning at 0500, she got up, laced her boots, walked to the water. Because that's what SEALs do. They don't stay down. They don't break. They don't quit. They rise. Thank you for staying until the very end. This story was written for the ones who've been pushed down and told to stay there. For the ones who chose discipline when the world expected rage. For the ones who got back up when nobody was watching. If Elena's story moved you, hit like, leave a comment, and subscribe. Tell me what moment hit you hardest. Tell me what you carry with you when the world tries to push you down. Your words keep these stories alive. And you, the person listening right now, you are stronger than you know. Thank you for being here.